401-3.
Marker.
I guess you're wondering why we've called you all here. Okay, I got this idea. I had this feeling for
Where are
you.
you playing it?
Key of D. I like this groove, you know?
Yeah, I do too.
Kind of reminded me of
Yeah,
ancient days.
I like that. If we're going to use a symphony, we could actually kind of try to paint the sun coming up, you know, like
Yeah.
that type of thing at the beginning. That chorus would be beautiful, like up a third. If we
Camera's room.
Sounds beautiful.
You're saying this is PM.
So,
Music.
what do you want the dining? 131,
31.
32,
132, 132.
There you go.
Nicely done.
Tricky.
There's a couple of intervals in there
Yeah.
that are like kind of,
It's like
Droning.
there's a two or something going
it's
through
a
those.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing. You know,
It's neat the way all those strings
it's
work.
got a lot of energy.
Cool.
Rising brighter than a star. Stand up and sing about it. Let the world know who we are. We're the sons and we're the daughters, children of the West. We're Oklahoma rising,
Oh man.
rising up to be the best. We're Oklahoma rising, brighter than a star. Stand up and sing about it. Let the world know who we are. We're the sons and the daughters, children of the West. We're Oklahoma rising, rising up to be the best. We're Oklahoma rising, rising up to be the best.
Oklahoma stands at the dawn of a new century, bathed in bright promise and infinite possibility, steeped in the wisdom of generations, filled with hope and faith, and a rising appreciation for the state we share. Dawn on this land has seen an ancient ocean recede and prehistoric creatures rule. Early civilizations flourish and vanish. Nomadic Indian tribes evolve and thrive. The paths of old world explorers, traders, and Civil War soldiers, freedmen, Ellis Island immigrants, and Indian nations from across America, all arriving to carve out a new life. A short century ago, Dawn saw this land join the Union of American States, accelerating its growth dramatically, ushering great waves of change over 10 decades' time. And today, the same sun rises on Oklahoma's second 100 years. Dawn is a new beginning. Its arrival a universal reminder of life anew. The day arrives as an empty canvas with the promise that it will be what the heavens and humankind make of it. Oklahoma is that dawn, that morning of boundless promise, a vast, open stretch of exhilarating and extraordinary potential. Our first century proved where our power lies, in the character of our people, blessed with the spirit, courage, and grace to rise above adversity and achieve. Our ancestors were pioneers who saw the same promise we see today. They were explorers of the future, new arrivals on the American frontier. Our centennial year is a celebration of our great past, but it's also a lens through which we can set our sights on a truly luminous future and a second 100 years to pioneer.
I had to go out and see the rest of the world before I realized how special Oklahoma is.
What we see happening in Oklahoma right now is a renaissance, and it's not unlike the period of time of renaissance in Europe. The Renaissance began when Europe was in the doldrums of its most difficult period of time.
The economic struggle that arrived with the 1980s oil bust forced Oklahoma to confront its destiny and conjure a bold new future. The process itself sparked excitement and optimism, and the results ushered in an era of great momentum.
What happens is we have an urgency, having seen difficulty. We have the momentum that comes with new, bright minds as more and more people are coming into our state who are extremely well educated, working in the sciences, and we have new science-based companies.
I see incredible possibilities for our state. I don't think there's a state in the Union that wouldn't trade places with us in terms of the possibilities that we have before us.
There's movement. You feel movement. It's not a bureaucracy that's so strong that a young person today can't go into it, find her or his way, and make it work. So I think it's a young person's state. Oklahoma's always been a young person's state.
That's what the frontier could give you. The land is plenty, this resource is plenty, and so people, after they've seen that, many want to come here, and those who come here very rarely leave.
I run into people from all parts of the world at the Noble Foundation in Ardmore. And when they arrive in Ardmore, there's no small amount of anxiety on what am I doing in Oklahoma. And within a matter of months, they all seemed to come to my door and ask, is there a way we could stay?
When I meet people that have come to Oklahoma for the first time, they are astounded at what they see. They see a state that values art museums. They see a state with major research education institutions. They see a state with a younger population than they thought.
Every place you look, we have the human talent, we have the various assets in place to create greatness, to create things that are absolutely unique.
Oklahomans are resourceful, resilient people. We're generations of self-reliant souls who chase opportunity wholeheartedly. People unafraid to test their mettle, who embrace change and handle hardship with optimism and courage. We're here to fulfill our dreams, so we push forward and persevere as pioneers.
Oklahoma's always had a pioneering spirit, a spirit to accomplish goals and push forward into the unknown.
We have a can-do spirit. We know we can do it, and we will. And secondly, we're willing to work with each other.
I think it's extremely important to be working in a state where people are pioneers. Their ancestors were pioneers, back to 3 generations, 4 generations. And the reason is that the pioneer people think anything's possible because they had nothing, and they make something happen in a very few generations.
The pioneers who came here with nothing. Mainly they brought the shirts on their backs. They participated in the runs for land, and they packed up their dreams, and that's what they brought with them. They weren't afraid to dream. They weren't afraid to take risks. That is really the essence of the Oklahoma spirit. And where you're not afraid to dream, that's where you're going to find great progress.
As hunting grounds and home to Plains tribes, as a crossroads for explorers and frontier soldiers, as the designated home to tribes from across the country known as Indian Territory, as a promised land to African-American freedmen, as free land to homesteaders, as a young upstart of a state, Oklahoma is the true melting pot of America. There was no precedent for this experiment. This extraordinary diversity has shaped us and served us well. It continues to evolve and accounts for a great deal of our great state character.
I go back to Oklahoma as a territory because it was a very diverse place. There were all sorts of people that for scores of years literally were able to live beyond their relegated comfort zone and to create an environment that was just absolutely phenomenal.
I think the ethnic base of Oklahoma creates more uniqueness in Oklahoma. I mean, you can be anything you want to be.
The ethnic diversity that Oklahoma has gives us different perspectives, gives us more creativity, gives us more flexibility, and gives us the ability to respond to stimulus, to respond to change in a flexible way.
And I think this is maybe what Oklahoma will offer the rest of the world. The idea that we can come from all points, end up at a place, put our skills together, look beyond gender, look beyond ethnicity, and look to what we share in common and make it work for all of us. This, to me, is the great test of the human journey.
We now see our diversity as a great advantage. It is a tremendous thing to have a diverse audience giving you ideas. Your ideas are going to be better, and they're going to be used in many more ways throughout the world, because after all, the world is diverse. And the marketplace for ideas that emerge from Oklahoma is not just Oklahoma. The marketplace isn't just America, it is the entire world.
Community is collective effort and kindred spirits. Oklahomans have always understood and believed in it. Within an Indian tribe, members work together as one, as people of one fire. On the frontier, neighbors would stick together. Whole towns gathered for school and barn raisings that bound hearts together. As the aftermath of the Murrah bombing showed the world, our native sense of community is extraordinary.
We have kept alive the spirit of this country better in Oklahoma than almost any place in our nation. And by that I mean we're still a community. We're still a place where we know each other, we take care of each other, we're real communities. In times of trouble, we come together.
Whether it's the 20th century, the 21st century, or beyond, the ability of humankind to connect and to recognize that as being perhaps the single most important gift that we can bring to the table.
People come here find that within our institutions there's so much spirit of collaboration, spirit of working together, and spirit of help out each other. As a young investigator, you go into somewhere and you struggle alone by yourself to try to make in the competitive world is very difficult. And to come here, you have an institution, have other colleagues behind you, and other people who can mentor you, can bring you along. And that's extremely, very, very big advantage, I think.
So what is happening in the area of new ideas in the sciences, math, engineering, technologies, is now collaboration. So scientists don't work alone in the silos of their departments and universities. The good science is always collaborative science.
Globalization has intensified demand for a well-educated population. The more we raise standards and expectations, the more success Oklahoma will see.
It's quite important that we maintain that high level that we have when it comes to education, those high standards that are set, whether it be in the colleges and universities that we have in the state, but also at the elementary and secondary level. It's important that we have these high standards.
Oklahoma is one of the top places for early childhood education. And with early childhood education, their sights are raised so high so that they are prepared and ready and not discouraged. They can do big things, and we're going to have that population.
Those are the young people who will be in our college classes in 15 years from now. So that'll lead to the next 50 years.
We're going to be overwhelmed at the creativity coming out of these kids. It's going to multiply again our force in the world.
I think that the School for Science and Math in Oklahoma is probably the finest school in the country. I think it is a model for what education can be. These students come from all of the communities around the state, and they are very focused in science and math, and these are our leaders for the future, and they're very, very bright.
The Oklahoma School of Science and Math grew from an idea gleaned in a magazine. And AWESOME, as the school's own acronym announces, has become legend, assuring that gifted students from across our state are challenged and their talent developed to its highest potential. This inspired mission in education is a revered example for the nation.
It has gone beyond my wildest dreams. It is second to none. It is an outstanding school. And we are taking students from all over the state, almost every county. And these are the brightest and the best. And about half of them stay in Oklahoma and go to school. The other half go out of state. But voila, most of them who are out of state, they're coming back, they're returning. We always said that we're going to make this the Silicon Prairie, that they will come back with new ideas and new things to do for Oklahoma. Because one thing that's very critical and very important about Oklahomans, they really love their home. And I find that many of my students that leave here always want to come back.
Oklahoma does have untapped potential. I think we're accustomed to thinking of it as underground, like oil. And oil certainly has made Oklahoma. But I think there's oil in our kids.
I think that there's a genuine hunger for the arts in all of us.
The arts are not a frill. The arts are a necessity. And you know, the unique thing about Oklahoma is that we've understood that from the very first people who ever came to Oklahoma. They created that beauty in ordinary objects that they used every day. And we've carried that forward. And I think that spirit is why we have the #1 ranked arts institute for high school students, for example, in the United States. Why we've integrated the arts into education in Oklahoma.
Something is going on here with the human mind. There is this realization in Oklahoma that art imitates nature and beauty inspires the creation of more beauty, of beautiful things. Some of those things may be artistic, some of them may be intellectual, ideas, theories, technologies. Art is a vibrant part of Oklahoma and a vibrant part of our future.
The arts ties it all together. They help children learn so much. Children do better on testing, but not only do they do better, they're happier. Children who are happy in school learn more, and you need that change of pace from reading, writing, and arithmetic to learning about reading and the arts, learning about writing as an art, learning about arithmetic, which is again has the patterns of an art.
We're creating a whole generation in our state who value the arts, who are fed by the arts, who realize that we have to develop our souls as well as our minds.
Much of the groundwork for future industries and careers is being laid at Oklahoma's research universities, where new discoveries create new industries and bold new horizons for existing ones, producing the high-paying jobs that will give ambitious young Oklahomans the freedom to work and stay in Oklahoma.
I believe that over the next 50 years, Oklahoma is going to leap forward in terms of economic opportunity, jobs, for example, for young people in our state. Young Oklahomans are not going to have to leave Oklahoma to find jobs in the future, and here's why. Already, Oklahoma's universities are moving forward at an incredible rate. We're taking those areas of the economy that are going to grow in the future, and we're making ourselves top-ranked in those areas of research. So we're transforming the Oklahoma economy so that 50 years from now, we'll not only still be strong in agriculture, and we're always going to need food, we'll not only still be strong in energy, not just oil and gas, but wind power and alternative sources of energy, but we also are going to be leaping ahead in new fields like genetics, climate, and weather technology, because we are building the research leadership today, the intellectual property today, to create whole new businesses and industries for tomorrow.
The advantage of Oklahoma's pioneer spirit and strength of character is creating the kind of momentum that's being reported, studied, envied, and yes, copied. We're the younger sibling in a nation of achievement emerging on the national scene. But we've become serious contenders, leaders, and innovators in one industry after the other. It's overdue, but powerful recognition.
And I look at the private businesses that are already being built right next to some of our institutions. For example, next to the National Weather Research Center, there's already a private company, Weather News International. Right here in Oklahoma, right now, inside that building, they're controlling ships all around the world using the real-time weather forecasting coming from our center here in Oklahoma. So they'll say, go 4 degrees to the left. That'll save you this much fuel. That'll save you that many hours of travel, because we know exactly what the weather's going to be in the seas all around the world. This is just the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg.
In Lawton, artificial intelligence and sophisticated 3D animation trains Fort Sill soldiers by simulating desert settings and military vehicles, cutting training time and conditioning our men and women to the environment. In Burns Flat, one pioneering launch pad for commercial and suborbital flight would bring an exotic new dimension to Oklahoma tourism. But high tech is balanced by high touch. We see a return to our roots. Agritourism is taking off at wineries, dude ranches, farms, and harvest festivals that celebrate life on this mythic landscape.
I really think there's a special momentum building in this state is in the biotechnology area. The life sciences represented by the Health Sciences Center in Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma Medical Research Foundation and all the work that the Presbyterian Health Foundation and others have done. There's also significant opportunity in the agriculture biotechnology world, the plant world, and the animal world. And that exists both at the Noble Foundation and at Oklahoma State University. And what I think is really even more exciting as the future goes is the opportunity to dovetail those technologies together.
We'll have new kinds of seeds as a result of biotechnology, new ways of planting those seeds, agricultural technology, new ways of developing even the genetic quality of those seeds so that they can resist disease and you don't have to use pesticides. This is going to revolutionize farming throughout the world, and Oklahoma will be at the leading, already is, the leading edge of the change. That's just one field.
The Noble Foundation was instrumental in initiating the sequencing of a genome, a small legume, called Medicago truncatula. So in very simplistic terms, what our technology will enable a farmer to do is to harvest a hay bale with 50% or more nutritional value than an ordinary hay bale, because we can engineer the alfalfa plant to grow and still stand up, but have just enough lignin in it to stand up, but less to make it more nutritional. We think that's going to have real value for agriculture and for Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's open range is a natural habitat for cattle. Ever since Jesse Chisholm drove herds up from Texas to the railheads in Kansas, cattle have been central to our state's great agricultural output, as well as our rugged Western heritage.
Oklahoma is primarily a cattle-based forage production agriculture enterprise. If Ardmore, Oklahoma is the center of an area of 100 miles in radius, and if that area were a state, it would be the 6th largest cattle-producing state in the United States. So with our land resources and the scientific capabilities to improve and enhance not only the forage grass, but the animals, the genetics of the animals themselves.
I have seen more visionaries in Oklahoma than any other place I've been.
Oklahomans fight disease on the global frontiers of science today because two men understood what the Oklahoma Health Sciences Center could do for our state's future, as well as for human lives. Dean McGee and Stanton L. Young made this vibrant, fast-growing center part of our destiny. A campus and collaborators that stretch from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, to Stillwater, Norman, and beyond. And given the relatively new insights into genetics, this frontier is producing exciting science, with discoveries as thunderous and thrilling as an unbridled run for free land.
Oklahoma Medical Research and Jordan Tang with his team have produced some potential causes of Alzheimer's, and moreover has developed the possibility of antidotes to those causes.
We have success stories that we can show them that it came out of Oklahoma. It didn't come out in these eastern or western seaboard establishments. We're at the stage, many scientists in Oklahoma are leaders of their fields, and they are international and they're known, and they give lectures all over the world.
The growing renown of Oklahoma's accomplished scientists has become a magnet for the state, attracting many of the nation's finest scientists and adding weight to the claim that this biomedical complex will be the research capital of the plains.
Here's what happens when we recruit from out of state. some of the top scientists of the top universities of America, Johns Hopkins, Harvard, some of the great scientists out of Texas have come here and are coming here. We don't have to drag them. We have to get them here for an interview, show them the quality of life, the pace of life, the quality of people, and also the quality of workspace. The scientists can't believe the quality of space they have compared to what they'd have if they were in Cambridge or if they were tucked away on the end of a pier somewhere in Seattle. Overcrowded, an hour and a half commuting to work each way, and they come here and they can live and they enjoy it. And once they're here, they say, this is a great place to do the most sophisticated business of the world.
When we recruit good scientists to come here, the first thing maybe not the first thing, but one very important thing is that we take them home to see how we live. Now, in Boston, you spend $500,000, you get a little cubicle apartment that you can buy, call your own, and there may be not much tree, not much other things around for them to enjoy. But when we bring these people home, we have an acre, we have a layout house, we have space, we have nature, we have birds in the backyard, we have flowers.
Oklahoma's fine quality of life is a profound advantage. We're fortunate to have avoided growing too fast at a pace that's been able to protect the environment we enjoy. The cost advantages and relative freedom from slow-moving freeways and long commutes just add to the package.
We have, for example, a Cytovance Biologics manufacturing going on here. This is a very exotic kind of biotech product that deals with monoclonal antibodies and therapeutic proteins. And we can develop that product out of that site for half the price it would cost on the coast, because the cost of doing business here is so much less. We have the science to do it, we have the space to grow, and now we have, I think, the beginning of the insight to use this knowledge of our new knowledge-based society and put it to work.
New technologies have transformed drilling for oil and natural gas. Deeper wells, horizontal drilling, and sophisticated techniques for shale extraction continue to produce new finds and reopen fields once considered tapped out. The promise is Oklahoma's legendary oil and natural gas industries will remain vibrant for our state's second century, even as other forms of energy broaden our portfolio of fuels.
Every modern society needs some kind of fuel. It's always been the case. We've always had energy-based societies since the first human beings built a fire to keep warm.
But Oklahoma has great opportunity in front of it. We have abundant energy resources. The energy shortage is not going to get less in the next 50 years. It's going to get tighter and tighter. And those people that hold those energy resources in the ground or in barrels are going to be in a major economic position to leverage their location.
With China coming online and needing as much gas and oil as America, and soon we'll need more, we have to find an answer to fuels, and one of them are the biofuels. And Oklahoma has the space to develop biofuels. These are fuels that are grown in the ground.
Oklahoma and its universities will play a role in development of alternative energy sources. In that, OU has now established a separate college for earth resources, and I think obviously we're seeing some wind harnessing. We'll see solar. I think it's beyond my imagination.
Directly at odds with ghostly images of long ago Dust Bowl drought, Oklahoma today is a land of lakes with shimmering vistas and a gold mine of shoreline. This wondrous wealth of water will also be a linchpin in our 21st century destiny.
The few states like Oklahoma that have abundant fresh water are going to have rapid growth in the next 50 years, particularly because a lot of states are going to have a water shortage crisis.
Once you get past Oklahoma,
into New Mexico, into Arizona. Those are very dry states. The water that's available to them have already been appropriated, and Oklahoma is blessed with this commodity of water. And that's going to seal the future, and it's a resource that in 25 years is going to be as precious and as valuable as any of the oil that we've ever had.
We pump water now from southeast Oklahoma into Oklahoma City through a 60-inch pipeline with reservoirs along the way. And there's plenty of water down there that we can continue on and irrigate the entire western half of this state, making it a breadbasket for the world. And we can extend and will extend the barge canal from Tulsa to Oklahoma City, and that'll mean we can ship by water anywhere in the world. And we will become a mecca for tourism in this state, particularly led by our cities. Oklahoma City and Tulsa will create water wonderlands. In our capital city, the 7 miles of navigable Oklahoma River will have been extended to 20 miles. And Tulsa will do the same with the Arkansas River.
The expanse of the prairies like being on the sea. You know, the diversity of the experience here is really unusual. I mean, just look at the elevation. You go from 400 feet above sea level at Tom in the southeastern corner of the state to almost 5,000 feet above sea level at Kenton in the northwest corner of the state. That's a big difference in elevation.
And I grew up in the East, and all we talked about was cowboys and Indians. We all wanted to go out and see the cowboys and Indians. I said I was chairman of the National Finals Rodeo for 20 years and helped host private plane loads of people from France, from England, from Germany. And they came out here to see cowboys and Indians. The cowboys and Indians is something that we got that's special. And nobody else has it like we have it. And that is going to be an attraction here that just won't quit.
Oklahoma's Indian population makes this state unique in all the world. The diversity of tribal cultures is remarkable. The presence of 39 sovereign nations within our borders holds great potential as a driver of economic development for tourism and many other industries, from manufacturing to healthcare for military families overseas. In the past 35 years, the tribes have rebuilt their governments and forged partnerships with the state that have set the stage for exponential economic growth and opportunity.
The potential of Indian tribes in Oklahoma and on the future of Oklahoma is, I think, almost unbelievable. Most Oklahomans don't understand, and I think even a lot of our elected leaders today don't understand the impact the tribes have.
If you just look at the federal dollars that come into Oklahoma by virtue of the 39 tribes we have here, it approaches $700 million a year. That's 10% of the entire state budget, which is $7 billion. And those federal dollars build roads, they provide hospital health care, they supplement educational dollars, they provide law enforcement, all the governmental functions that if they weren't there would have to be supplied by somebody else.
I think that the tribes are the way of the future, especially for rural Oklahoma. They are bringing jobs to rural Oklahoma. They're building the infrastructure. Now it's going to grow, and I think it's going to grow very rapidly, and you're going to see a tremendous impact from the Indian tribes, especially the 5 civilized tribes in Oklahoma.
I see people returning to rural Oklahoma. Technology is going to allow that, transportation is going to allow that. And as we get this blending of rural and urban, then that creates even new possibilities.
Grand Lake is an example of an attraction. People move there from out of state to retire because it's such an attractive environment, and they bring their money with them. And that creates capital, and that creates job opportunities.
Oklahoma is blessed to have a third internet for high-speed, massive amount of information to be shared. For example, bioinformatics, and this affects Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Stillwater, we're all linked together. Not every state has this, not every state by a long ways. We're very fortunate to have this. So we have entered the information society of the 21st century at its highest level. And we have the capacity of phenomenal growth. And we're going to see that happen. It will affect every city in this state.
The bright promise Oklahoma holds is almost beyond imagination. But it's clear that the impact of rapidly advancing technology on a young state hitting its stride will be profound.
The youthfulness of this state, I think, does play in our favor because, in a way, it's still a work in progress.
We're not fully developed yet. We are still just that partially filled in canvas.
As I invite people to Oklahoma, in particular trying to help recruit people, I think the strongest thing we have is the ability to tell them, look, we are a state a size of which you can participate directly in what this state becomes. And you can't do that elsewhere in larger states. And it's a magnificent thing to be able to participate in creating a state.
So if you have the fortitude and the courage and the pioneering spirit to be a legacy builder, Oklahoma may be the place for you.
That's the Oklahoma spirit, and that's why, as time goes along, we're going to emerge as leaders for this entire nation. We're going to become the model for the entire country. We're going to become the voice of inspiration that the rest of the country is going to need to keep America great and to keep America one of the leading nations in the world.
The future's really in our hands, and what we do with it is going to be measured by how innovative we are, how creative we are, how committed we are to improving our quality of life.
All the technologies will allow Oklahoma to move fast as it moves upward in this new kind of economy. Oklahoma has space, it has energized people, and it has really good universities that are now emphasizing math, engineering, technology in a way that has not been emphasized before. And out of this will come a tremendous energy in every field of endeavor.
I think who we are, what we are, and what we're doing and what we've done speaks for itself.
I think the young people should understand that there's great opportunity in Oklahoma. So I would say that good for you. Go for it, you know. Kids, your future is bright.
If you look at an opportunity or a place where you can professionally excel, where you can professionally interact with really high quality people in an environment that's not rush, 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 and the pace is really quick, if you want to live someplace where you can enjoy nature and the land and see a sunset, Oklahoma's for you. And some of these people, they think about those things, and when they have children, or after they've worked in the big city for 10 years, and they all of a sudden see what's going on back in Oklahoma, and they say, whoa, you know, I can be just as good a lawyer and just as challenged a lawyer in Oklahoma City or Tulsa or Bartlesville or Ardmore as I can in New York City. And man, wouldn't it be nice to live back home?
Those of us who are here now, we are making the history that Oklahoma will be. And I think that the future generations will perhaps look back on this time and see it as foundational. It's very difficult to think of yourself as being the history, but history has always been people. And at some point, we will be the history. And the young people will study our lives and the change that we have forged and the difference that that change has made not only for the state, but for the nation as a whole.
And so Oklahoma's 100th year is more than a milestone. Reveling in a time of unprecedented momentum, it's a springboard for our future. The energy, the passions, the soaring devotion of 3.5 million citizens crystallize the meaning behind the celebration, drawn from the love we have in our hearts for this great, good place and the dreams that drive us forward.
I believe that the future is beginning now with our centennial celebration, which is so important to celebrate 100 years of this great state. 100 years, a lot of things are happening to do that. All over the state on November 17th of '07 to kick off the second century of this state. That's important, not to just say, okay, we celebrated, it's all over, happy birthday, but we move forward into the next 100 years.
If you're searching for the meaning of our centennial year, look into the eyes of these 2007 Oklahoma centenarians, eloquently captured by N.J. Alexander. They are the very soul of our first century, infants or toddlers the year Oklahoma celebrated statehood, children of the frontier. In their eyes, you can see lives lived with quiet dignity and grace, greeting the world with salt of the earth strength and equanimity. They are evidence of our own resilience, human documents of our past and our potential. The occasion of our centennial put these Oklahomans in much deserved limelight. Their delight in being celebrated as special and particularly relevant citizens touched us with the spirit of our centennial as much as the grandest floats and fireworks ever could. Their portraits are poetry, their words, pure wisdom. They tell us that age cannot extinguish a sense of purpose and joy in life, faith, family, and friends. We may be members of different generations, but we share the same home and the same hopes. We are Oklahomans. We know and appreciate this state like no one else on earth can. If we're lucky and live a good life, we too will one day reach this age of such grace. In these faces today, you may see a great aunt or grandfather or parents. But you'll be fortunate if one day you see a face like this in your own mirror, with a long lifetime of love and faith and friendship shining in your eyes, and a bond with this place that will never die. To the third century of Oklahomans, you will be revered as a pioneer, a cherished ancestor who contributed to the whole they'll celebrate in 2107. As a historic touchstone, this film is itself an assurance that our centennial year will reach Oklahomans for years. Technologies will continue to advance, but by 2007, it had become clear that these words and images will indeed reach generations of Oklahoma's grandchildren and great-grandchildren. If our centennial arrived before you were born, know that it was celebrated with you in mind. You are the future for which we lived and labored. You are the future we celebrated. For you, we built Oklahoma's Great Lakes, parks, and communities. Talent and passions poured into architecture, corporations, public institutions, and governments that include 39 Indian nations. We built what we believed would broaden your horizons and deepen your lives. We were caretakers of this place with great faith in its exceptionally bright future. And sure enough, by the time 2007 arrived, that light had become blinding. Maybe it was seeing so many of our dreams become reality. Maybe it was seeing such fertile ground for greatness to flourish. It required lifetimes of late nights and long odds, grounded in a deep affection for life here on this sweet panhandle stretch of earth. and a shared sense of its great destiny. As the next generations, you will inherit our state's vast resources and our collective life's work. You are entrusted with its gifts and its momentum. Everything you see is a promise that your own greater dreams can grow here. As your life unfolds, many of us who celebrated in 2007 will be gone. Know that it was our privilege to place this state in your hands. We ask you to dig in, use the momentum, expand it, apply your native creativity and sense of daring, the deep sense of purpose and drive that your ancestors gave you. And always rise.